Good day, everybody. In my last video, I stated I was going to talk about things I would change, things I don't like, and things I like, and things I love about this bike. And it handles really good. I took it through a 2-hour trail only to realize that the GoPro battery that I had dug out did not record, so I had to use my 360 on the second part of the ride, which was in the sand and the fluff, some of the bush. The first one was a lot harder. Not so much sand, but a lot of technical, a lot of whoop-de-doos or moguls, whatever you want to call them. Narrow, really narrow brush going through, getting scraped on both sides. I've got some brush scrapes on it now, which I don't care. It's a bike. You're going to get brush scratches if you take it through the woods. So one of the things I don't like is at 5'7" with a 30-inch inseam, the 32.8 seat height makes it difficult. You can't flat foot it. I have boots that I can put on where I can pretty much flat foot it, and I've turned the suspension all the way down, or all the way up, whatever you want to call it. Made it as soft as it'll go, turn the rings as high as it will. We've also lowered it on the bottom rocker at the dealership as low as it'll go. The NK you could run up to 110 without any problem. So they've definitely changed it, probably just in the computer. I don't think, if I understood correctly, the transmission's the exact same. I don't think the finals are any different. So with that being said, one of the things, if I were doing a lot of highway use, is I would do, like I've seen a lot of guys do over in Europe and different countries, and that is they change the rear sprocket. I think they go 1 or 2 teeth difference just to bring the RPMs down a little bit. So when you're cruising it, you know, a lot of our highways here are 75 and 80 mile an hour. And if this thing tops out at 88, I mean, you've got nothing left. So, not that I need to go that fast, but if I'm running 75 just to go with traffic, I would like to have the RPMs down a little bit. Not to mention a better fuel economy. So I would change the rear sprocket. Probably will. I am planning a road trip. I definitely plan to go see some national parks and stuff on this bike. And I'll probably ride it. I probably won't trailer it. I'm in Florida. So what else do I like? So if your feet on the pegs and you're riding it from the pegs up, the balance and everything is fantastic. But if you get into the sand and stuff, or mud, where normally you crawl through and you put feet down, because of the height, it's not very foot friendly. Because you can't reach, or at least I can't. If you have a 31, 32 inch inseam, yeah, you're going to be a lot better off. That's going to definitely make a huge difference. But if you're just riding it from the pegs up, oh, it's fantastic. On the interstate, it's fantastic. Going through town, zipping around, beautiful, fantastic. The fit and finish on it, just like the NK, where they've gone through and they've marked everything with their little grease pens, or whatever you want to call them. Every nut and bolt marked them, so you can see if things are getting loose or whatnot. Like the blue one here, they've marked everything on this bike, so you know what's going on. If you pay attention to your bike, you're in good shape. I definitely think it's a much better bike than the couple of GS BMWs that I've had. I've had the same bikes in the 650s from BMW, and absolutely more comfortable on this one. I don't know if it's just the 40 pounds, but it just feels like it handles better. Now, they have a scrambler that came out with the same 450 motor and transmission. Old school scrambler. Now that for a shorter person would probably be fantastic. That has I believe it was a 27-inch seat height. So, they have a version of it with the dirt tires and everything. We don't have that in the States yet, I don't believe, but we do have the scrambler. We just don't have the off-road version, because it is a little bit different. They raised the front fender. They put the mud and dirt tires on it like are on this one. Now for a factory issue tire, not bad. Not bad. Do I like the bike overall? Absolutely. Like I said, a few things I would change. The skid plate, I would lower it if I could. I'll probably get the scrambler for daily riding, and leave this strictly for, well, adventuring. So, but yeah, happy with it. Love it. No complaints, other than the skid plate and the seat height for a short person. It just seems like they don't make anything for shorter people. I know that sounds pretty funny, but it's true. But but to ride it, it's comfortable. It really is. It's smooth. I've turned everything down. Like I said, I've turned that down, and I've gone a quarter turn so far on these to soften them up. So I just did that since I got back. So we'll see how it does. They say you want it harder in sand, though. You don't want it as soft, but if it's softer, and when I sit on it, I go lower to the ground. So it's one of the reasons I did that. It doesn't just affect your rebound. It brought it down in the back probably a good, I don't know, ½ inch probably. When I sit on it, it probably goes down 1.5 inches or 2 inches more, being all the way up. I'm talking about the ½ inch was on the rings. So, yeah, I love the bike. I think it's amazing. I wish it was tuned a little better for road riding, because I think most people with these probably will do road riding. I mean, everybody I know with the BMWs, they go all over the country, but they got to get there on the road. So 90% of their time is spent on the road. So that's my only concern is, fuel economy, highway speeds. That's all. But that can be changed by a sprocket. But I'm just saying, to get it where you didn't have to do anything, those are really the only two things I would, well, three, would be the sprocket or the tuning, the skid plate, and the seat height. The rest of it, oh, it's fantastic. I've heard some people say this doesn't make a difference whether it's up or down. Well, for me, it does. Being shorter, when that thing's all the way up, it doesn't get that buffering sound. It actually goes away. So I like that. When I high centered, I lifted from this rack. I'm going to tell you right now, this rack is solid. It's fantastic. I really like it. I was able to lift the back end without any trouble at all, because all your weight's up front, and when you're high centered on that thing, not a problem. Both hands grabbed it from the back and go. And it still maintained the balance well from standing back there. Even with the handlebars turning in the sand, it didn't want to go over one side or the other for me. It was really nice. So, fairly easy to maneuver through the woods. No complaints. Like I said, I'm going to go back and do that other trail. That's going to be my next video. Will be that trail that I went the first time and didn't get the recording. My GoPro battery, well, all my GoPro batteries are probably 4 or 5 years old, and I didn't realize that it had eat up that battery as fast as it did just on the ride out there. So I didn't have anything left. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably have to give it a strong 9+. It is everything that they say it is. It didn't have any problem getting through the sand, even with those tires. Those aren't true quote-unquote dirt tires. They're what, 50-50, 60-40, something like that. So still happy with them. Still happy with them without buying or doing anything right off the bat and just going. I was very pleased. I think it's definitely going to be a pleasure on the interstate, because when I put the bags on it and I got all my gear on there, I'm sure she's going to sit down a lot lower. Then I'll be flat footing. So, but just by myself, no, that suspension's, well, it's new, so it's stiff, it's strong. It might sit down some more, as time goes by. But absolutely a load of fun. Definitely a blast. Would I call it a sand machine? Not with those tires. They go through, but man, I was fishtailing everywhere. And that was just from the soft sand. That wasn't because I was overpowering to get it to do that. That was just the give of the terrain. So we have very, very soft sand here. Sugar sand. It's hard to walk through there. Okay, just in your shoes, walking through it, you're getting your exercise on level ground. So with that being said, it did great. The second thing I didn't like is where your frame is. It's not very rigid, I would say. It's pretty thin. So you're relying on the bottom plate, and if you high centered on rocks, which really isn't a thing for most people unless you're out west like Arizona or something. Most people ride dirt, so it's going to handle it. I high centered a couple of times on a log and going over a log, trying to creep over it. I high centered, rocked it, pushed it, no problem. It handled it just fine. The sand just fine. But if you were on rock or you hit one, I don't think the aluminum guard would hold it very well. I would think that you would need the steel one, and I know they have the aftermarket. So my point is, I recommend that because your frame is higher than your exhaust, but it is lower than the engine, so it protects the engine. If you were to crush this, but like I said, that's like 1% of bikes in the world that really you tear that up. But it does happen over time, especially a little bit here, a little bit there. So I would recommend getting the steel skid plate for sure. As far as the motor and transmission, it's definitely tuned different than the NK was. I had the same exact motor and transmission in the NK 450. That thing was quick and fast. This is pretty quick, but it's not very fast. 88 mile an hour, you're hitting the red line. We'll see you soon on the next one. See you after the ride.